My name is Lauren Whitmore. I'm 35 years old, and I didn't understand how quickly a life could fracture until a stranger typed one sentence that refused to leave my head. You deserve to know he's not being faithful. The message came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was in a conference room pretending to care about quarterly projections. Unknown number. No greeting. Just urgency. This is Megan from Evan's office, it read. I'm sorry to message you like this, but you deserve to know he's not being faithful. I stared at my phone longer than I want to admit. My first instinct was denial. Jealous coworker, misinterpretation, office gossip dressed up as concern. But something about the tone, direct, restrained, almost reluctant, made my stomach tighten. I typed back slowly. Appreciate the honesty. Can you explain? Her response came immediately. I don't feel comfortable putting everything in writing. Just pay attention to his Thursday late meetings. They're not all work-related. I'm really sorry. Thursday was tomorrow. Evan had mentioned a late client meeting. Wouldn't be home until 8 or 9. He'd been having those meetings more often lately. Once a week, maybe more. I told myself it was normal. He'd started a new project, new responsibilities. That's what supportive fiancés do. They believe. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. We met at a friend's wedding, bonded over mutual hatred of the DJ's music choices, and built what I thought was something solid. Honest. The apartment we lived in was mine. I'd bought it years before Evan moved in, but it had become ours. His coffee machine on the counter, his jackets hanging by the door, his books mixed into my shelves. That night I didn't confront him. I cooked dinner, asked about his day. He answered vaguely, barely looking up from his laptop. Nothing felt dramatic enough to justify suspicion. Wednesday, I told my boss I needed to leave early Thursday for a dentist appointment. He approved it without question. All day, nausea lived just beneath my ribs. By Thursday afternoon, I texted Evan that I'd be working late myself. He replied with a heart emoji. It felt like a threat. I got home at 5:30 p.m. I sat in my car for 10 minutes breathing, bargaining with reality, hoping to walk into an empty apartment, hoping Megan was wrong. When I unlocked the door, I heard laughter, Evan's laugh, and a woman's voice I didn't recognize. I stood there with my hand still on the door handle, keys digging into my palm. For a moment, I wondered if I should leave, if I should quietly step back into the hallway, pretend I hadn't heard anything, give myself a few more minutes of ignorance. But then I heard him laugh again. That specific laugh Evan only used when he was flirting. Soft, indulgent, like he was leaning into someone instead of standing upright. I pushed the door open. The apartment smelled like garlic and red wine. Candles flickered on the dining table. Our dining table. The one we'd picked together. The one where we'd planned our wedding seating chart, argued about guest lists, joked about future holidays. 2 plates of pasta, 2 wine glasses, and Evan, my fiancé, was sitting across from her. She was wearing a fitted red dress. Not work attire, not casual, intentional. The woman looked up first, her face drained of color. Evan followed her gaze. Lauren, he said, my name barely louder than a breath. You're supposed to be at work. I stayed near the door, didn't move, didn't take my coat off. And you, I said calmly, surprised by my own voice, are supposed to be at a client meeting. The woman stood abruptly. I should go. No, I said, please stay. I'd really like to know who's having dinner in my home. Silence fell heavy and awkward. This is Natalie, Evan said finally, from work. I nodded slowly. The Thursday meetings, I said, not a question. Natalie looked at him. He looked at me. No one spoke. It's not what it looks like, Evan said. I laughed, actually laughed. Then explain, I said, because from where I'm standing, it looks like my fiancé cooked a romantic dinner with another woman in my apartment while I was supposedly working late. We're just friends, Natalie said quickly. Friends who light candles? I asked. Friends who drink wine and wear date night dresses in someone else's home? Lauren, please, Evan said, standing now. Can we talk privately? Why? I asked. Is there something you don't want her to hear? Natalie grabbed her coat. I'm really sorry. I didn't realize. You realized, I said quietly. You just didn't care. She left without another word. The door closed. The candles kept burning. How long? I asked. Evan rubbed his face. Lauren, how long? 3 months. 3 months. And how many Thursdays? He hesitated. 5, maybe 6. You don't know? I said softly. You don't know how many times you lied to me? We didn't sleep together, he said quickly. I swear. I felt something inside me go cold. Oh, I said, so that makes it fine. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? I asked. Because my definition of cheating includes secret dinners, lying, and bringing another woman into my home. He started crying. I felt nothing. Get out, I said. What? Pack a bag and leave, tonight. This is my home too. No, I said, meeting his eyes. It isn't. My name is on the deed. You don't pay rent. You're a guest who overstayed. That's not fair. Neither is betrayal, I said. But here we are. He packed while I sat on the couch, silent. When he left, I poured the wine down the sink and threw the pasta away. Then I scrubbed the table until my hands hurt. Friday morning, I woke up to my phone vibrating like it was trying to rattle itself off the nightstand. 17 missed calls, a dozen texts. Some were apologies. Some were anger. Some were that worst kind of manipulation, the kind that dresses itself up as heartbreak. Please just let me explain. You're overreacting. I love you. Answer me, Lauren. You can't do this to me. I stared at the screen and felt something settle in my chest like wet cement. Then I blocked his number. Not dramatically, not with shaking hands, with the same calm I'd used when I told him to leave. Because the truth was, I had already seen everything I needed to see. I messaged Megan, the coworker who warned me. Thank you, you were right. She responded right away. I'm so sorry, for what it's worth. Most of us at the office thought what he was doing was wrong. I read that twice. Most of us, meaning it wasn't a secret, meaning this wasn't a private mistake between two people. This was a story being whispered in hallways while I sat at home believing in him. I typed, how long did people know? There was a pause before her reply. A while, but nobody wanted to be the one to tell you without proof. Office politics, fear, I didn't know, not really. But I was starting to understand how convenient politics becomes when it's someone else's life being burned down. Then her next message hit harder than the first. And Natalie isn't the only one hurt. Evan wasn't exactly single in the full sense either. My breath caught. I called her. My hands were steady, but my voice wasn't. Megan, I said, what do you mean? She exhaled on the other end. Evan's complicated. His ex from before you, Natalie, she's not just some random coworker. They've been circling each other for years. And Natalie? She was seeing someone too, someone serious. I pressed my fingers to my forehead. So this wasn't just Evan betraying me. This was a whole pattern of people treating commitment like a suggestion. And I was the only one who hadn't gotten the memo. That day, I boxed up his things. Not carefully, not tenderly. Just methodically, like I was clearing out a room after a storm. His hoodies, his work shoes, his toiletries, his spare charger, the framed photo of us at that cabin trip where he'd proposed, his arm around me, my smile too wide, like I could outgrin any future disaster. I wrapped the engagement planning binder in a garbage bag without even opening it. Saturday morning, his sister showed up with a friend and a rental SUV. Her name was Emily, and she looked at me like I was the villain of Evan's story. You're really doing this? She asked, stepping into my entryway like she owned the place. You're throwing away 4 years over one mistake? I didn't even blink. 3 months, I corrected, and multiple Thursdays, and a dinner table set for 2 that didn't include me. Emily's mouth tightened. He's devastated. He should be, I said. I'd hate for him to be comfortable. She scoffed like that was cruel. But cruelty was lighting candles for another woman and texting me a heart emoji while doing it. Her friend carried boxes out in silence. Before Emily left, she turned back with that righteous, family-loyal glare. You're making a mistake, she said. You'll regret this. People work through worse. I smiled, small, humorless. People who want to be forgiven don't cook pasta for their ex in someone else's home, I said. Tell Evan I wish him the life he earned. The door shut. Monday, I called the venue. My voice shook on that one. Hi, I told the coordinator. This is Lauren Whitmore. I need to cancel my wedding. There was a pause. Sympathy in it, trained and professional. I'm so sorry, she said. The deposit. Keep it, I said. $15,000. That number should have hurt more. But compared to marrying someone who could lie with that kind of ease, it felt like buying my freedom. I canceled the caterer, the photographer, the DJ. Each call felt like pulling a thread out of a sweater that had already unraveled. That night, my mom called. Lauren, she said gently. Emily called me. Of course she did. She said you and Evan broke up. Is it true? I told her everything. She didn't interrupt. She just listened. Quiet, absorbing the devastation like only a mother can. When I finished, there was a long silence. Oh, honey, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm okay, I said automatically. Are you? She asked softly. I opened my mouth to say yes, but the truth slipped out instead. I don't know what I feel, I admitted. I thought I'd be wrecked. But it's like my body shut something off, like my heart went into lockdown. That's shock, my mom said, and it's also self-protection. Evan tried contacting me through mutual friends, through email, through social media. I blocked everything. 2 weeks after I kicked him out, he showed up at my building. The doorman called up. Ms. Whitmore, your fiancé is downstairs. Not fiancé. Not anymore. I'm not seeing him, I said. The doorman hesitated. He's crying. I'm still not seeing him. Apparently, he stood in the lobby for 20 minutes. Security escorted him out. And somehow, I felt nothing except relief that I didn't have to look into his face and hear him turn betrayal into poetry. 3 weeks later, I found a handwritten letter in my mailbox. 6 pages. His handwriting was the same as always. Neat, careful, like he believed if he wrote beautifully enough, he could rewrite reality. I read it standing in the lobby. He talked about feeling neglected, about how I worked too much, about how Natalie listened in ways I didn't, about how it got out of hand. He said he was in therapy. He said he'd cut her off. He said I was the love of his life. He said he'd do anything for another chance. I finished the last page. Then I tore the letter in half. Then in half again. Then again. And dropped the pieces into the trash can beside the mailboxes. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just walked upstairs, unlocked my door, and stepped into the apartment that was finally starting to feel like mine again. A month passed. Then another. Time didn't heal anything dramatically. It just softened the edges enough for me to breathe again. The apartment stopped feeling haunted. At first, every room echoed with him. The dent in the couch cushion where he always sat. The empty hook by the door where his keys used to hang. The dining table, the damn table, felt like an accusation every time I walked past it. So I changed things. I moved the furniture, replaced the rug, sold the dining table, and bought a new one. Smaller, lighter, nothing like the old one. Sometimes starting over isn't symbolic. Sometimes it's just practical. 2 months after the breakup, I finally agreed to meet friends for drinks. They'd been checking in, circling me gently like they were afraid I'd shatter if they touched the wrong topic. That Friday night, I said yes. At the bar, halfway through my second drink, I heard my name. Lauren? I turned. It was Megan. She was with a couple of coworkers, laughing, relaxed, nothing like the hesitant woman who'd sent that first message that changed everything. She looked relieved to see me. I wasn't sure if I should say hi. I'm glad you did, I said honestly. We talked. About work, about life, about how strange it is to be the accidental bearer of truth. She apologized again for getting involved, for the fallout. You did the right thing, I told her. I just wish someone had told me sooner. She nodded. A few of us suspected, but that Thursday, I saw them leave together for lunch and not come back for hours. I couldn't stay quiet anymore. I appreciated that more than she knew. She was smart, funny, easy to talk to. Talking to her felt grounding, like finally speaking to someone who understood the truth without needing it softened. There was no spark, no confusion, just relief. Can I get your number? I asked. Just in case. It might be nice to have coffee sometime, no pressure. She smiled, warm and uncomplicated. I'd like that. A few weeks later, Evan's mother called. I'd forgotten to block her. Lauren, she said, voice tight, Evan isn't doing well. He's depressed, barely eating. He made a terrible mistake, but he's suffering for it. Can't you find it in your heart to talk to him? I leaned against the kitchen counter and closed my eyes. I'm sorry he's struggling, I said. I really am, but no, I can't talk to him. He's trying to change. That's good, I replied. He should change, but not for me. For whoever comes next. There was a sharp intake of breath. You're being cruel, she said. No, I said calmly. I'm being honest. I didn't cheat. I just refused to be a doormat. She hung up. 4 months later, my life looked different. Quieter. Cleaner. Megan and I stayed in touch. We met for coffee a few times. Nothing romantic. Nothing complicated. Just two people who'd crossed paths through something messy and came out of it honest. I heard through mutual friends that Evan was dating again. Good. I hoped he'd learned something. People kept asking if I regretted not trying harder. The answer was always the same. No. He didn't have one moment of weakness. He had months of calculated decisions. Every Thursday, every lie, every candle lit for someone who wasn't me. That's not a mistake. That's a pattern. And I refuse to reward patterns like that with forgiveness. The message Megan sent me that Tuesday afternoon hurt like hell. But it saved me from something worse. I didn't lose a fiancé. I lost a future that would have eventually destroyed me. And that's not a tragedy. That's a warning I listened to in time.